Welcome back to Unfucked Midlife, my friends. I hope you're doing well. I am going to just let you know that today is one of those days where I can't do anything right on technology. And I am feeling the frustration of that. I'm so annoyed. I literally recorded this entire podcast in my actions, but I didn't hit record. So that's cool. However, it's in those moments where I've talked about with unfucking business, nothing is going to stop me from getting the message out. Resilience, my friends, resilience. I may be frustrated, but I'm not going to quit. Okay, so today we're back. I'm back because you loved Sluts for Self-Help. Obviously, it's a great title. I'd like to pat myself on the back for that. But listen, I did not expect it to be my most listened to episode ever. Nope, that was not something I thought would happen. I have been recording podcasts since 2019. I've done hundreds of them. This one in its first week exceeded the listening count of those that were online for all those years. Wow. Most of you agreed. You're caught in these cycles of looking outside yourself for advice, of thinking that the action of thinking of the action of reading a self-help book, talking to a coach or a therapist feels like the actionable step, that most of the time you're listening, but then starting another podcast episode thinking, maybe this will get you to do the thing you want or need to do. Self-help sluts unite. And good on you for recognizing your patterns. This awareness is the first step. That's me clapping. So what got me thinking more about this whole self-help cycle recently? Well, it wasn't just our conversation from last week. It was watching something play out in real time that perfectly illustrates how even the most evolved among us can get caught in the external validation loops. Some of you may have heard or witnessed Glennon Doyle announced herself onto Substack. Now, stick with me. I am not here to talk about Glennon Doyle and Substack, more about the subsect of people and their mindsets. Because it does feel like, I don't know about you, but I've sort of been observing, it kind of feels like less of a cancel culture than previous years. But the pushback that I and others witnessed on Substack, and mainly, if not all, from women who claim to love Glennon Doyle, who said that she changed their lives, that because of her, they have healed, quickly followed by the nitpicking and criticizing how she announced herself, that she should have done it differently or not at all. And the most wild of wilding is that a majority of these women are in the self-help wellness world. One woman wrote, "Check your bios, girls." I was like, right? Damn, it was fucking mind-blowing. And yet not. These women wrote that they felt that their nervous systems were triggered, that the video was jarring, that they went into doubt and fear that this would affect their growth, their finances, and the ecosystem of Substack. Some asked and others demanded she leave the space. What they were was hijacked by this person entering the room. What these self-proclaimed wellness girlies missed was something a lot of us miss. They were trying to control what was outside of them in an attempt to feel good on the inside. And that never works. I posted a note on Threads and Substack about the self-help industry being a $50 billion racket and cycle that feels productive but can often leave us on rinse and repeat. Most people agreed. Most. There was some pushback there. Now, I want to be clear. What I'm not saying is don't read the books, don't get the help, don't look for advice. But what I am asking and offering you is a question. Are you applying what you are learning to your situation, or what we more commonly refer to as our problems, your problems? Or are you just consuming? I believe there's tremendous value in hearing how others have moved through the difficult situation of life. I am a massive consumer myself of memoir. For that reason, I love outside perspective. My podcast initially started as a conversation talking about how others move through their struggles. So going through the similar things, maybe they would feel less alone. I also believe that there are incredible tools and knowledge being passed around. I'm not saying that the self-help industry is all for naught. I am saying that people highly underestimate their own wisdom and knowing, that you are more likely to trust what someone else thinks before thinking it through yourself. I am saying almost all of the information is the same information it's always been, just a different voice and package. If you trace back what they are delivering, it all comes from the ancient texts or ancient technologies who say the same thing. Stoicism, Buddhism, Christianity, 12-step recovery programs, all the 12 steps, that concept comes from those. It's fascinating that we continually repackage these same concepts and act like they're revolutionary. Meditation apps, journaling prompts, breath work, shadow work, it's all ancient technology with fresh branding and a fucking app. So here's what I think is going on. We're living in a world that values the external, the visible, the measurable, the Instagrammable. And the ancient wisdom is just asking us to go internal, to sit with the discomfort, to be still, to face ourselves, to deal with what's real. And that shit is hard. It's unsatisfying to the ego. It doesn't give you a certificate to hang on your wall. It's your nervous system is like, this is boring. This is uncomfortable. This isn't working. And nobody's going to like your social media post about sitting in silence for 20 minutes with your uncomfortable emotions. But then again, in this day and age, they probably would. Who are we kidding? So when people like Glennon and Doyle trigger folks who have built identities around being evolved or conscious or self-aware, what happens? Their nervous systems get hijacked. They go into threat response. They externalize the problem. They try to control the environment rather than managing their internal response. Look, I get it. I do that sometimes too. But what I want to talk about today is what works before seeking outside help. What needs to happen internally before the books, the podcasts, the courses that actually create the lasting change. Because here's the deal. I've watched thousands of people consume self-help content and continue to live the same patterns over. This is the gift of age. I have time on my side and experience of witnessing, and so do you. You've seen it for yourself within yourself or yourself and others around you. I have seen a much smaller number of people who have actually transformed. The difference is not what content they're consuming, what coach they hired. The difference is in how they approached it. So what is that little secret sauce, right? What's the thing that has to happen first? It's this. Simply facing what is. A full stop. Not facing it with an agenda of changing it. Not facing it until you feel better. Not facing it with conditions. Not just looking at it exactly as it is. Most of us skip this part. We go straight to, how do I fix it? Because fixing feels active and just seeing things clearly feels passive. We think acknowledging something means we're giving up, when actually it's the foundation of any real change. Think about it. You can't navigate from point A to point B if you refuse to acknowledge you're at point A. You'll keep consulting maps and asking for directions while secretly believing you're somewhere else entirely. Let's get practical. What does facing reality look like in practice? It means sitting with the truth that your marriage isn't working without immediately trying to fix it or blame your partner. It means acknowledging that you hate your job without instantly creating a 5-year escape plan. It means recognizing that you're in debt without immediately shaming yourself or making wild promises about your spending. It means feeling anxious without immediately trying to make that feeling go away. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Your mind will tell you this is giving up. Your mind will say, but I need solutions. Your mind will convince you that accepting reality means permanent resignation. And that's some BS, my friend. Seeing things clearly is just an honest starting point. It's standing firmly in reality before you try to change it. When you can sit in the discomfort of what is, like really sit in it, feel it, be with it, something magical happens. Your nervous system begins to chill the F out. The panic subsides. You stop acting from fear and scarcity and desperation. Here's the cool part. Your brain actually starts to evolve. When you step back from that instant fix-it mode, you just think for yourself. New neural pathways form. Your brain literally starts creating new connections. You'll start having original thoughts instead of regurgitating someone else's advice. This is when outside help becomes useful. This is when books and podcasts and coaches can point you in helpful directions. This is when you can hear advice and figure out what actually rings true for you versus what's just another distraction. The moment I talked about in the last episode, that pause, that space of uncertainty, that's where the magic happens. Not in rushing to fix, change, or improve. I'll tell you what I've noticed in my own life. The areas where I've experienced the most profound change were not the areas I consumed the most content. They were the areas where I finally had the courage to sit and just look at what was true, to feel all the feelings that came with that truth, and to wait in that uncomfortable space without rushing to solutions. The irony is, once you can truly see what is, the change often happens naturally, even effortlessly. It's like you stop swimming against the current and suddenly discover you're exactly where you needed to be. So how do we practice this? Notice when you're in seeking mode. Pay attention to that restless feeling of I need to figure this out. That urgent desire to consume more information, that's your clue. That's your clue that you might be bypassing your truth. Create space for uncomfortable truth. Literally schedule time to sit with it in whatever situation you're trying to fix, change, or escape, not to problem solve, just to be with it. Feel the physical sensations. Where in your body do you feel resistance, anxiety, fear? Get curious about those sensations without trying to make them go away. Name what's true. Say it out loud. Write it down. My relationship isn't meeting my needs. I'm deeply unhappy in my career. I'm scared of aging. Whatever it is, just stay there. This is actually the hardest part. Don't immediately jump to solutions. Don't immediately seek advice. Don't immediately try to change your circumstances or feelings. Just stay with the truth and all of the discomfort it brings. I'm not saying you need to do it forever. I'm saying doing this first will change what comes after. That's the step that the self-help industry doesn't emphasize enough because it's not sexy. It doesn't sell. It's not a 5-step process to best your life. It's just being honest about where you actually are right now. And here's what I know for sure. All of the books and the courses and the advice in the world are not going to help if you're starting from a place of resistance to what is. You're going to continue to cycle through solutions that don't stick because you're trying to solve a problem you haven't fully acknowledged. So going back to the Glennon Doyle situation, what if all those triggered writers had paused and gotten curious about their own reactions instead of immediately trying to control the external situation? What if they had asked, what's this bringing up for me? What am I afraid of? I mean, they literally wrote it out. And what if before hitting send, publish, post, they just sat with that? And then they sat with that. And then they sat with that. I really do wonder what they possibly would have discovered. Or, who's to say, maybe it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe they are discovering another layer to it. So my invitation to all of my fellow self-help sluts is this. Before you consume another book, podcast, or course, try the simple act of sitting with what is. Try the revolutionary approach of feeling your feelings without trying to change them. Try the ancient technology of being present with reality. And as you do this, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but your brain will literally start evolving and creating these new connections. I promise. When you do this first, all those external resources become much more valuable. They become the tools for figuring shit out rather than distractions from discomfort. And most importantly, you'll start to trust yourself again. You'll recognize that you had this wisdom within you all along. You just couldn't hear it over all the noise of seeking, fixing, and avoiding. That's been my experience anyway. And from the response to this last episode, I'm guessing many of you are finding that to be the same. I'd love to hear from you about your experience with this. Have you noticed yourself constantly seeking outside without applying it? Have you found value in the pause, the moment before rushing to solutions? Let me know. I read every message you send. Also, in midlife, I know that we're all thinking like we feel like time is running out, which is why I'm very excited to tell you I'm going to be delivering more video content on YouTube. Yes, I'm going back to the place men love to hate me. They do not want a woman with tattoos and short hair giving out any sort of life, I don't want to call it advice, but guidance or messages to other women. I've even been told to put on some makeup if I'm going to be telling other women anything. But I heard that there are a lot of women tuning into YouTube. And so I'm going back. And I am creating this series called Unfucked in under 10 minutes. And I'm very excited because these videos are going to be just that. In under 10 minutes, I'm going to deliver to you very insightful, quick tips, quick insights to help us unfuck midlife. And of course, they won't be your typical self-help tips. They're going to be real. They're going to be unfiltered reflections on what it actually takes to unfuck your thinking. And I believe they're going to be perfect for morning coffee, commutes, or wherever you need the reminder. Like maybe you'll be just like strutting on that trail. And that reminder is that you're not alone in this what the fuck happened to my plan phase, that there's still time to make the next half better than the first, and that we're not aging out of anything. We're aging into everything that's next. So get ready to expect those videos. If you want, you can subscribe to that YouTube channel, link in the show notes. If you're already a subscriber to the Substack, the video from YouTube will be posted in the column. So you can just click that. It'll take you to the YouTube, click subscribe, and then those just slide into your inbox, just like my fun Substack column does. And what else? I haven't decided exactly what day of the week they're going to come out on, but you'll know the day because you'll see it in your email. But I just feel like, just because midlife is a lot of things, it doesn't have to be fucked. And I know you feel the same way. So subscribe, my loves. Until next time, keep on fucking midlife, one uncomfortable truth at a time.